Well, hello everyone, it's Sheila back again. Welcome to my channel. I'm sitting here sewing up this 53-inch cardigan. I've got it all done except for the neckband and the bands down the front for the buttons, and so I have to sew up the shoulders. So I'm going to pin those, because I have to sew the shoulders before I can put the neck on, but I'm going to sew the whole thing up and then put the neck on afterwards. I'll sit here this afternoon and do this because I'll be going out at 5 o'clock to my bingo, so I don't want to be in the middle of anything before I go out. So that's a little bit of pinning. This is what I do when I sew up anything. There is what you call blocking, which is pinning it all out and pressing and that, but this is acrylic. There's no way I'm going to be pressing acrylic. A little bit too warm and you've ruined what you've knitted. A cup of tea as well. And that's my long end that I always leave, and that end will take me across the shoulder, hopefully, when I come to sew it. I want my needle. Which one will I use? My needle. Take the first pin out and get it as close to the first stitch on the that I've got on this holder that's holding the stitches for the neck. I'm going to do a back stitch across this. That's the way I always do my sewing on the seams. Always do a back stitch. And I'm not doing very big stitches. I'm keeping the stitches quite small, because if you do the stitches too large, you're going to have holes where you can probably nearly put your fingers through on the seams, which you don't want. Well, this is the first side that I'm not sure whether it's the left or the right side, because it's inside out. Well, that would be like that, and turn that. So it's the left side I'm stitching on first. It's lovely when you've been knitting something and you come to the final stages and you know it's just about completed. And as I'll be leaving about 5 o'clock tonight, because it's my bingo night, and I'm going to pick my friend up. So I should get to hers to pick her up at least by 5:30, depending on the traffic. Because the traffic is usually horrendous at that time, because everybody's coming out of work, and it's usually a 25-minute journey, but last week wasn't too bad. I got there, I think, within the half hour. And then I picked my friend up, and then we'll have probably about another 15-minute journey to the pub that we go to, that we do our bingo in. It's in a place called Woolsington, Newcastle. It's not far from Newcastle Airport. And it'll be the last week, the last Wednesday we'll have to sit outside from the next week, which will be from May the 17th. I think, is it May 17th? We can all sit inside the pubs again, so which will be much better because it is very cold. It gets cold once the sun disappears, and the last couple of weeks it's been a little bit windy, and the place where we sit it's like a little shelter built on the side of the pub. It has a canopy and sides, but the sides have like open windows where we were playing Play Your Cards Right. We do Play Your Cards Right as well as bingo. And when our friend was putting the cards on the, she has a special stand that she puts them on. And it was quite windy and the wind kept catching them and blowing them off, so I had to give that up. Everybody could see, because the cards were falling down, everybody could see what they were, so it was a waste of time playing it then. But it'd be much better being able to go inside the pub from next week. It won't be as cold either. So hopefully I'll get this sewn up before I have to go out today, and maybe be able to get the neck put on it, because it does take quite a while to sew. And I could do it on my sewing machine, because my sewing machine has a zigzag on it, which you would need for this, but I prefer to sew it by hand with the same wool that I've knit it with. But years ago, when I used to do this with a knitting machine, I used to have that many orders. I used to have to sew them up on the sewing machine, because with a knitting machine, a cardigan like this I could knit in a day. So I had quite a lot of sewing to do, and if I was knitting smaller things, children's, babies' cardigans, it was probably only taking me about an hour and a half to knit them on the knitting machine. I'm not sewing as fast as what I normally do, because I'm sitting in front of my laptop talking to everybody. So I don't want to do too fast or I'll make a mess and spoil it, and then have to pull it out. But I'm almost at the end of this seam. So that's that seam sewn across there, and I'm going to fasten it off. When I fasten off my sewing, I put the needle in, wrap the wool around the needle. You get like a little loop, and when you pull it, that tightens it. I'll do that again. And again, I'll do that 3 times. That's how I tighten off the end, so it doesn't come out. And then that end, I just slot it through the top of the stitches that you can't see. And then pull it through and cut the end off, so you can't see where the end's finished. So that's one side done. As you can see, my needle down, talking with my mouth full. That's that seam done. I'm going to do the other one now. You know, I was holding that up like that in front of the knitting, and I'm looking, I'm seeing that's the neck there. What's the neck? That's the arm. I thought for 1 second I had done that the wrong way, and then I've realised it's got to be turned inside out on the other side. Hey, my little age thing, I think. Turn it around like that. Now I have to pin this side down now. Pin in there at the start. I've got the edge up as close to the last stitch on there as I can. I have 2 ends there that I can sew up with, so I'll work out one of them. Keeping the cast off where you started the cast off for each part together, so it doesn't make it wonky. Put another pin in there. Another pin there. So that's the second shoulder I'm going to sew now, exactly the same as I did the other one. That's both the fronts stitched on from the shoulders, and I'm going to do the sleeves, put the sleeves on. Some people stitch the sides like that and stitch the sleeve seam up and then put it in that way, but I do it this way. I find this way easier. And what I do is, this is the sleeve. These are the cast off stitches across the top, and I fold that in half like that. I find the very centre of the sleeve, which is here. Take my finger there. On the wrong side. It's easy to gauge because I have 2 rosebuds there, so I just have to look to the centre of those rosebuds anyway, you know, if I didn't fold it in half. And now I'm going to pin it to the back and the sides. And I pin the centre first, and then pin it to the end of the cast on stitches. And then take it down to I have stitch markers in where I started the shaping on the armhole, because I don't cast off stitches on the sleeves, but I do on the other body parts. So I've got the cast off stitches there, and the marker. I'm pinning it from the marker. And then you have to stretch the sleeve just very slightly, not a lot. I stretch it, hold the 2 ends where the pins are, and stretch it slightly, work my way into the centre. and then pin that in the centre of that place that I've just stretched. And then just pin the rest until it's all in place. You're just uncurling it as you're going, as you're pinning it. That's one side of the sleeve pinned to the front, and I'm going to do exactly the same, pinning it to the back side. That's putting the cast off edge to the stitch marker. And pinning the top bit to the end of the cast off stitches there. And like the other side, stretch it slightly. Till you get the two pieces together into the right place. And then pin the rest of it. You have to stretch it slightly like that to make sure you get the sleeve in evenly. You stretch both pieces and pin the very centre part. Yeah, so that's the sleeve all pinned into place. As you can see, the shape going round and down the other side. Now all I have to do is stitch that on. As you notice, I have my pin cushion here. This was a pin cushion I crocheted out of a little bit waste wool. Comes in very handy. And it's stuffed with all the little pieces. When I've sewn things up and you get little bits left over like this, I save all those little bits into bags, keep it into a bag, and if I want to stuff anything, which is what I've done with this is stuffed with all tiny little bits of wool that's been left over from things I've stitched together. Comes in very handy. So now I need a length of yarn. Yeah, got a long length here. A very long length. Hopefully it'll be enough to go all the way around, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to join another bit on, but It'll do for now. The weather's not looking very good here. I hope it gets a bit better for tonight. Put a little knot in the end of that. Take the first pin out. Join this first before I take the stitch marker off. Oops, that knot came straight out. Right, so fasten that in. I'll take the stitch marker out now. I don't need that one now. And join that a couple of times to keep it safe so it doesn't come out. It's got a little bit knot in there. That's it. There. Alright, now I'm going to do a back stitch all the way around here now. All the way around this sleeve to fix the sleeve to the cardigan. I have to be a bit more careful with this extra long length of yarn because sometimes it does get tangled when you're pulling it through. I find if I keep my fingers on the end of the needle and just pull it through like that, comes through without tangling. So the sleeve's not going to be quite as quick as the shoulder's going to take a little bit longer to stitch this on. Well, that's sleeves stitched onto the cardigan. Now all I have to do now is stitch the seams up, the sleeve seams and the side seams. And then when I've done that, I'll put the neck on and then do the button, the bands, the buttonhole and the button bands. And I'm going to stitch up the sleeve seam first. And as you can see, I have a long end that I left when I started this sleeve. That's what I always do, and that should, it might possibly go all the way up to the armholes, but I'm going to do a flat stitch for the rib, which just means I'm putting the two pieces together. I'm not doing a back stitch. I always do a flat stitch for the rib part. I'll flat stitch that to the end of the rib. And then I'll do a back stitch from there up to the armholes. And it's taken me just over 2 hours to get this far. So I'm probably not going to finish this tonight, because it's now almost 20 to 4 and I'll be going out at 5 o'clock. So I'll get as much of this done as I can, and hopefully maybe it's when I get back. Usually get back about 8:30, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, so I might have a little bit of time to do a bit more of this. So I've stitched the rib part, and now I'm going to pin the sleeve seam up to the armhole. Pinned the armhole and down near the rib. And I'll start up in the middle to pin it from the centre up and then down. And keep try to keep the rosebuds level with each other. Same with further down here. I want to have a long bit where I joined the yarn on there. I'm going to have to sew that in. Cut that long end off and gets in the way. Leave just enough to sew it in. And so that's a little job for now, to sew in the sleeve seam.